Pat Mayo Experience, WGC Mexico picks, preview, one and done. We'll get into all the good stuff, some bets coming up a little bit later on. Want to remind everyone to become a member at fantasynational.com right now because it led to a lot of winning lineups last week. Viewers of the show, I mean, betting-wise, worst week of the year, weirdly enough, despite the picks being so on, but that translated into the DraftKings game pretty well as I want to give a special shout-out to two viewers of the Pat Mayo Experience. One, Nickel, took down the $4 GPP, the big one, the 20 max entry on DraftKings, 25 grand in his pocket. He has a midterm today, which he says he's going to fail, so good luck to him. At least you can afford next semester now, so that's always good news. And also, Kent Bruton won the single entry, $12, so a quick $5K for him. We were all over it. Unfortunately, I didn't bet Justin Thomas, so I didn't win. Weirdly enough, the only thing that came in for me was a Luke List top 10. Worst week of the year. But we're going to get back on it this week. Hopefully everyone won some bucks when it came to DraftKings this week. Joining me from Florida because he went down to watch the Honda Classic. Actually, you know what we're going to do first? We're going to show you what his weekend was like on the course.
You're the man, Serge. Green jacket, baby girl, it's all you.
That's it. That's
oh
it.
My God!
Yeah,
oh my
baby.
God!
Oh yeah!
Oh my God! Tiger! Woo! Yeah, Tiger! Yeah, Tiger! Love you, buddy! Woo! Serge, baby! That wedding Masters jacket dance is the pimpest thing ever.
He just marked you down, son.
Why did the cop, like, cop me? Tommy, baby, yeah! Yeah, Tommy! 80 to 1! 80 to 1 to win the Masters! 80 to 1! I got you! I got you! I got you! This week, too!
Let's go, Tommy, baby!
Tommy, remember me? Remember me? Remember me? Woo! Woo!
And now, live from the darkness, it's Geoff Fienberg. What's up?
What's going on, Pat? Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Those videos, good times, good times. Although I got texts, I got a lot of messages with winning. People showing me they're winning DK lineups. You're absolutely right. It seems like a lot of the guys we touted had really strong weeks. That being said, another Monday morning, Sunday night, I put my hand in my pocket looking for some money. I just feel my dick because there's nothing in there.
Yeah, we had Noren, we had Fleetwood, and they couldn't have. As soon as Justin Thomas put the ball off the rocks and got the favorable bounce, even though he missed the birdie putt, he should have been in the water because Tiger had the exact same shot and the exact opposite happened. It hit the rocks and just bounced back into the lake. And from that point on, it just seemed like there was no way Justin Thomas was going to lose, even when it looked like Luke List was going to win. It was still going to be Justin Thomas's day.
See, what's funny, that shot you speak of, I didn't even know it existed. That's the interesting part of going to a golf tournament, right? That now I'm even triggered even more. You look at Noren's front nine on Friday. He couldn't get off the train pad. If he could have gotten off that train one stop earlier, he's in that playoff. If he could have gotten off that train a couple stops earlier, he's winning this tournament by 3 freaking strokes.
I mean, if he had just got a favorable roll on 18 yesterday where it would have just went into the bunker.
Oh, yeah, he could have put that to 4 feet out of that bunker. Yeah, for sure.
So that
oh
sucked
my
too.
God.
Yeah. So tell me about being there. Like, what did you notice from the course? How good did Tiger look?
Tiger looked amazing. Like, did he not lead the field in driving distance, proximity to pin? That great video just showed of that chip in that 10th green right-hand hosel where he has to play like the Mickelson flop. I saw guys on that right green all day in that rough. No one put it as close as Tiger. The only guys that made par there out of that rough, like hit 12-foot, 14-foot, 18-foot, 9-foot par putts. So he seems on point. If he could, if he's just going to work today on the driver, because that wasn't really in the bag last week, it really is starting to be ridiculous. Where we think the numbers keep crashing, and now we're off of a week where his proximity to pin led the field, his driving distance led the field. Yeah. Also, just seeing him, being near him, like the galleries, the hoarding of people around him. You know, it's like the green, when he's on like the 8th green, that 10th green is starting to fill up. It's quite the scene. It's quite the scene.
Who, besides Tiger, who else looked, I mean, at least in your mind, who looked the best?
See, I didn't really see anyone extended. You know what I mean? Kind of parked myself on the bear trap holes, you know, having fun.
Was anyone impressive at all that came through?
Like on Saturday, I was at pretty much 17 all day, and no one made a birdie like all day until Thomas and Berger birdied it together. So it's hard to like quantify like who was impressive, like from that aspect, because I didn't see any individual player hit a consortium of golf shots. It's really weird. And the funny thing is, it's like you kind of like, you go to the tournament. I kind of like, you know, Saturday, even like early Sunday, kind of like forget about the bets. You're watching the leaderboard, but kind of just try to have a good time and enjoy what you're seeing. I got to say, you know, off that, like I was really impressed with Fratelli. That's one guy that I thought was really striking it well. And Noren, like nonstop, other than the 90-minute stretch on Friday, he was the best player in this field last week.
All right, there is someone that we got to talk about the winner just for a second, because Justin Thomas, ended up getting someone ejected after they guaranteed that they wished that he would go into the bunker off the tee. And then he was swearing as his winning putt went in, and then CBS kept showing it, and then people started freaking out. I don't care about either of these things. I can't believe that he launched the guy, but I get it from his perspective. You want to keep all the negative thoughts out of your head. I think it was still kind of a soft move, but I can personally tell you, I do not give a shit about him swearing when the ball is going in. It's on CBS for replaying it so many times.
Yeah, no, the swearing, I don't even care about. Him kicking someone out, you know, that's an example. I didn't see it. I didn't even see the highlight of it till I got home. But at one point, you know, maybe shortly after it, I looked at my phone. I got 50 messages on Twitter of people jokingly accusing me of maybe being that person that heckled Justin. I agree. I think it was pretty soft. If a marshal wants to make that call or security wants to make that call, I'm not arguing with it. It's nothing I would do, although people seem to think that that is something I would do. But I think it is a very soft move by JT, and he is setting himself up to be the target in France in the fall, Pat.
Yeah,
because
a big thing too is it's not like he was talking during his swing. It's not like he was heckling him beforehand. It happened well after the shot had gone off. Now I guess that if the guy was like, basically that guy who followed around Happy Gilmore and was just heckling him all day and just rattled him.
Okay, you know what, though? That reminds me, because I did see a part of the story. Apparently, this individual was saying derogatory things to Justin as he was walking onto that tee box. So maybe there was something said that kind of bothered him, and then he knew this guy was still on him. I don't know. It's like you can mute a guy on Twitter, except the guy's not paying $100 to tweet at me like that guy does to get on the grounds yesterday. So interesting, but yeah, I look forward to seeing the Euros. I could just see it. Like he's on the tee box, and it's like as he's walking onto the tee box, or before that moment of silence when he hits, in the bunker, like that's what he's asking for now.
Yeah, well, fortunately the Ryder Cup's in France, so they might not get that, because I don't know did the French even really care about golf all that much? If this was in Britain, I think it would be a different story.
Yeah, you could be right, but I get the just like everyone kind of, well, I guess it's all different countries. Not like everywhere in Europe is one country, but just like we know lots of people that flock to Hazeltine, I'm sure the crazies from all over Europe, and I mean crazies is as a term of endearment, Ryder Cup fans will be going. I have a bit of a bone to pick though, Pat.
All right, let's hear it.
So you showed a lot of the videos from me this week. And I'd say about 88%, 85%, like, loved them. Thought they were great. You're the man, Fienberg, whatever. Enjoyed it. I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for myself. I'm having my own good time. Just in 2018, there's some technology I can capture it and share the moment. But some people, there's about 15, 12, 10% that, came at me for being incredibly disrespectful. And I have a big issue with that. I'm surprised I'm not like, maybe as this conversation goes, I'll spaz up. Because I was really turned reading a lot of these tweets that people were sending me. Me disrespectful, I'm to consider me mashed potatoes, Baba Booey guy, I consider maybe the greatest insult in the world. I'm there for 2 days assisting these 80-year-old marshals. Loser beside me, with his phone taking pictures with the volume on, making clicking sounds. I'm assisting the marshals. But when a player hits a shot and he's walking from the tee to the green, I will hype man them all day. And if you think that's disrespectful, we can meet and have a man conversation. And I went to private school. I've never been in a fight, but I'd fight you. I would.
Were people that mad at you, or it was like one guy just sending you tweets over and over?
No, it was like a handful of people. This guy's what's wrong with golf. No, I'm what's 100% right with golf. A passionate fan that respects and understands when the time and the place to do what I did is. It's like, was it rude when Dustin was walking around the Canadian Open last year? And I'm calling him a tall drink of water? Like, is that rude? Get out of town. Oh yeah, man, I really threw Fleetwood off. He almost holed out from that bunker on 17 Saturday that no one was getting tight on. And then he goes on to Eagle 18. Yeah, man, really got in his head. Losers.
From all the clips that I saw, it sounded like you were being entirely positive the entire time, if nothing else. It would be one thing if you were up there like lipping the guys like, "Oh, Fleetwood, you're fucking terrible," but that wasn't the case. You were being positive.
Yeah, Fleetwood, you're gonna make. I bet you don't get it out of the sand. Or Fleetwood, I see a double coming. No, I'm hype manning these guys. I don't know. I don't know what people want. I understand that maybe there's a fine line and it's easy to cross it. I don't think I ever came close to crossing it. And I don't know what people want. Pat, some guys are out there golfing in Air Jordans, listening to rap music in their headphones warming up. They want the hype man. They want it, okay? And I'll shut up. I'll stop hyping guys when I'm at an event when they start playing in a wool sports jacket again. Like in those Bobby Jones movies. Is that what you people want?
Well, the same people that are going to be upset with you about that are going to be upset about this, because I know, I can already see it now, how upset I'm sure Cust is about it, but the USGA changed the US Open rule today. No longer will the playoff be 18 holes on Monday. It's going to be 2 holes that Sunday to make sure they can get it all in on Sunday. This feels like Fox being like, listen, we don't want to show an entire playoff round on Monday. I mean, it sucks for me because I kind of like it, but at the same time, I understand it. I'm sure many are outraged by it. The PGA has a 3-hole aggregate. The Open Championship has a 4-hole aggregate. This is now a 2-hole aggregate. Then it goes into sudden death. What do you think?
I'm triggered. This is bad. This is wrong. Because Fox at 11 a.m. has to show the Steve Wilcox show. We can't get an 18-hole playoff. It's really confusing to me. This should not be taken out of the game. It's so rare. Tiger versus Rocco is one of my greatest golf memories. So I don't like it one bit. It really bothers me. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I think all golf purists are kind of pissed off about it.
It's exciting. Like, who isn't? Like, sometimes you think about it, like, oh my God, like, let's get a playoff. So that really bothers me.
All right, let's get to this week. WGC Mexico. We are here. There's no cut. There's 65 players in the field. Some of the bigger names, at least inside the top 15 in the world, 5 of them aren't going to be playing. Got no Stenson, no Rory, no Day. Brooks is still out with an injury, and someone else, Hideki, is taking the week off as well. Other than that, everyone is here. We're getting people from the Eurasia Tour, the Asian Tour, the Euro Tour. It's a meeting of all the worlds, and we have Abraham Answer in the field because he is the top Mexican. So he's there. No word yet on if Mexico Mexico is playing the entire purse or not. I guess we'll find out in the future about that. But the course itself is Club de Golf Chapultepec. I'm never going to even try to say that again, but Dustin Johnson is the returning champion. It's a par 71, just over 7,300 yards. But the big thing to note from this event is the elevation. We kind of talked about it a little bit last year. This is the second year it's here now. We kind of see how it works a little bit more, but it's almost 6,000 feet above sea level. The next closest event is the Barracuda in Reno, and it's less than half of that. So these guys are going to have to adjust a lot very quickly on the fly as it comes to, hey, I now hit my wedge 200 yards. But the one thing that this does, and we saw this translate out in the stats last year, is that strangely it becomes somewhat of a bomber's course, despite the fact that the bombers don't hit any drivers. Phil notoriously left his driver in the bag for the final 3 rounds last year. Dustin says he can basically go 2-iron, 7-iron into all the par 5s. And the par 5s are long. There's 2 over 600 yards, 1 just under, and the long bombers have no problem getting there. So when I did the regression model and looked at what really translated last year, driving accuracy actually came up higher than driving distance, but a lot of these bombers are going to have supreme accuracy as opposed to normal weeks, only because they're hitting 3-irons and 2-irons, and it just increases their driving accuracy so much. So I didn't really look too much into accuracy unless I knew it was someone that was going to be hitting drivers off the tee, which I just don't think is going to be a lot of the field. So for pure key stats for me, strokes gained approach, strokes gained par 5, strokes gained driving distance on the hole, strokes gained around the green, and then greens in regulation gained, which leads us to the very top of the list, Jeff. Defending champ, Dustin Johnson. He's 6-1. JT coming off the win. He's 8-1. Rahm and Spieth both 12. Tommy Fleetwood, Ricky Fowler, and oh, there's Phil Mickelson. He's 18-1 for whatever reason. I know he played well last year. He's playing well, but the guy hasn't won in 4 years. Now he's 18-1 to win. It's kind of surprising to me. What do you like off the top?
I will say quickly, I recall last year when breaking down the tournament that I sort of got the vibe that it was a precision course. And then Dustin goes on to win. And I don't know if you remember last year, he was hitting like Spiethian putts. He was hitting those like 20, 30 footers. Like this was an insane week for him with that flat stick. He was legit like Happy Gilmoreing the place up, doing what he does and then just rolling stuff in from everywhere. So it kind of took me off. I remember we all loved Stenson last year based on like the precision course aspect, and we all know what happened to him with the bad tacos or whatever went on. I want to look at precision guys, but as you mentioned, how the way this course sits up, guys like Dustin, guys like Rahm, I think are going to have no problem scoring. And can you remind me of the winning score? Because I feel like the guy you want to bet, he's going to have to make birdies. You're going to have to score. You're going to have to hit a number, I feel, to win. There's guys I like that are set up for certain events that play tougher. But I think anyone you want to bet this week, you've got to be confident that they can have the birdie party, because I feel like that's what it was last year. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was -14, Dustin won, Fleetwood was -13, and then we just go down the list, like Ross Fisher and John Rahm tied for 3rd. But the big thing that stuck out to me, the main reason that I bring up the par 5 scoring, I look at the players that played the best on the par 5s last year, in order from top to bottom: Dustin, Brandt, Phil, Fleetwood, Fisher, Rory, Ryan Moore, Kevin Kisner, Jordan Spieth. Those guys all finished inside the top 12, except for Ryan Moore, who lost a ton of strokes putting. So
it's still a precision course.
It's a precision course in a way, because there's going to be a lot of wedges. Like, there's a lot of really short holes, but then you have 2 par 4s that are over 500 yards. But it's being able to adjust on the fly. Like, there's tree lines on every fairway. So if you get into it, you basically have to chip out. So that leaves like your scrambling game very important. But like I said, if Dustin,
unless you find the sprinklers under the tree.
That's true. If you're Phil, you just get a free drop from wherever you're at on the course. But if you're Dustin and you're not hitting driver and you're hitting 2-iron, you're probably going to put it in the middle of the fairway every time.
I would agree, and 6. I don't know. It's a tough number at 6. It's a tough number.
The thing is, I look at this right now, and of the 20-1 people, in full disclosure, I've only made 2 bets so far this week, and I really want to kind of give this some thought of whether I actually want to bet a bunch of outrights, whether I want to hit some T5s, which might be a better market this week, or top 10s, just because it's a very top-heavy field, and just because we have 1 year to work with doesn't mean that that's necessarily how it's going to play out every single year. So I do want to kind of hedge against the fact that maybe I don't have as well of a grasp on this as I may think that I do, just because I have a 1 year sample. Well, a lot can change in a year. Maybe it just played that way last year. Maybe the wind picks up this year. Maybe it's firmer this year. Maybe the POA greens run a little bit faster, that kind of thing. So I want to leave myself some outs, but even when I look at the bottom end, the first guy that I really considered, and I haven't done yet because he's taken the month off, but I really like Justin Rose at 20-1.
Yeah, I can see that. He was playing excellent golf for a stretch run there. Did Rahm play here last year?
Yeah, Rahm was tied for third.
Yeah, and he's taking a couple weeks off, so I don't know. I feel like him rested is always dangerous. And just quickly back to the really big hitters, what we sort of seeing some interviews and stuff with DJ and Rahm, it kind of seems like, Pat, that these guys have decided being aggressive is sort of the best recipe, and as long as they're in play, they set themselves up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The one thing with Rahm, and I'm kind of with you, I actually do really like Rahm this week, but he's lost strokes with his approaches in 3 consecutive tournaments. I think the time off, now that he's taking a little bit of a break, I think that will help out a lot, and he's been one of the best putters on tour all season long, and he's, generally speaking, pretty decent on POA as well. But I just look at the courses where he's played well, at least so far this year. He has... you see him at the Tournament of Champions, then at Career Builder. It's just a spot where he's going to put it in the middle of the fairway and let the wedges do the work, and that's all he has to do here.
Yeah, like I said, for him and Rose, I don't know what. I mean, Rose is taking a bit more time off than Rahm. I know that number is shorter. I know it's been custed. I don't know if I want to bet it. I think Ricky's going to have a really strong week. I'll say this. He kind of might fit the mold very well for when we speak of that under the radar elite player who screwed people over as a defending champ last week. I am really staring hard at Ricky, Andrew Custer not.
Yeah, I mean, this actually made the list on the Custies, which people haven't watched the Custies yet. Go back and watch it. It's absolutely hilarious, just us mocking Tim for almost 2 straight hours. But this actually made the list because he said that Henrik Stenson was free money at this tournament last year, and then Henrik Stenson withdrew after 7 holes. And now he's declared that Ricky Fowler is free money this year, coming off the miscut at the Honda while he was the defending champion. I don't have a ton of interest in Ricky here. Listen, we're talking about the world's elite at a course that can be had with a ton of birdies. You can make a case for every single one of these guys. When I look at Rose, one reason why I didn't jump on Sergio last week, because it was his first time over in North America playing. With Rose, he played at the Farmers, and that was the first time he had played since the Hero World Challenge. I don't really sweat it with him. I don't worry that if he's had extended time off. And people, when we did our show over the break, and we talked about golf during kind of the off season, November, December, before the season actually started, if you had basically said, hey, who's going to win the Masters? Almost every single person said Justin Rose. Now no one wants to bet Justin Rose at 20-1 in a short field when he's playing really well. It's not like he was a disaster at Torrey Pines. He was tied for 8th.
I see what you're. I see that mail, and I'm reading it. I just don't know if he's the guy I'd want to pull the trigger at. Fleetwood was that T2 last year, and this was sort of where he began his. I guess. I mean, a lot of people watching this show probably were aware of him beforehand, but it was this week a year ago where he sort of really popped onto people's radars, having that great week, and then having the season that he had. It's hard though. That number just feels a little soft. He's getting hyped, and the numbers keep dropping. Last week on the show, we kind of made reference how last week's Honda odd for Tommy was almost identical to his Masters odd. Well, Ricky's Masters Honda odds were half of his Masters odds, and now it seems like Tommy's cut for good, eh?
Yeah, listen, I actually like Tommy here a lot. I think I would prefer Rose for the 20-1 value. I know it's 18 versus 20. Tommy might actually end up being the better bet, but I just feel like people are sleeping on Justin Rose a little bit here.
Yeah, no, I can see people sleeping on him with that little bit of a that little bit of a delay. I sorry. No. Got a visitor. But on that note, though, Pat, I guess we haven't hit that tier. No. Doesn't Noren represent the best value of all of them?
I mean, is Noren at 25-1 a value? Really?
Yeah,
so, like, I mean, that's what he should be now. Now that he's played so well every single week, I just don't know if I want to hop back on Noren. He's been heartbreaking me, man.
I would want, like, is this course not hard enough for him to play well at, though?
I mean,
because you look at, like, where he has his greatest success, whether it was last week and how few players were under par. And, you know, that big Wentworth situation, and even Torrey Pines is notoriously a hard course. I really like Noren. You feel like he's going to pop at any moment. The question is this layout too easy for him?
He's been gaining so many strokes through approach that he should, I mean, statistically, he lines up very well for this track. He didn't play well here last year, but I'm going to give him a pass on that one. He seems to be playing much better, at least in North America right now, where he had struggled in the past. He's rounding into form, but I just look at that entire range. The first thing I did this morning when I looked at the odds is I bet Sergio right away, 28-1, put it in. I love Sergio.
That was bet number one of the two.
So Sergio, people didn't really see it. It was a T33 at the Honda. It was his first time over since coming from overseas. But he was fourth in the field in strokes gained approach. He has the driving distance to compete. He'll be okay around the greens. It's just about his putting. He lost 3 strokes putting on the Bermuda grass last week. He's had success at Riviera in the past on those POA greens. I think that if he can just putt around field average, he's going to have a real shot here, because that's what Dustin did. I mean, you talked about Dustin draining some of these 20, 30-foot putts, and he did, but by and large, he won last year because he was sticking all of his irons and making the chips around the green. Like, he was just above average in terms of putting. Like, it wasn't a spectacular performance by any means. And I think the ball striking with Sergio is going to be there. I think the irons are going to be there. I think he can save himself when he has to. He just needs to make a few 10-footers, and he's going to be fine. I think he can do that here. And when I juxtapose, like, Sergio along with Fleetwood, I think they're very close to the same player. It's just I'm getting double the price for Sergio.
Yeah, no, I actually really I like that. I would bet Sergio ahead of Rose, to be honest, too.
I mean, I did already, but like it's two different situations. Like, one is 28, one is 20. Like, you're just getting more value when you get Sergio.
Yeah, but I think to me their chances of winning are literally identical.
Okay, then you're with me on Sergio.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I would agree that. And I don't know, man. I don't think Noren is such a bad number in the sense that, I don't know, Tommy dropped and Noren is a lot closer to last week's odd than Tommy. And I get Tommy's the better player, but I also have them as fairly equal in terms of my belief in their ability to win.
I think that the reason that that's baked in, and the one thing I don't understand really about Sergio, is that if you tell me that when you're dealing with Thomas and Dustin and Rahm and Spieth, if one of those guys is in the mix on Sunday and you're looking for someone to go head-to-head with them, at least we've seen Fleetwood do this before, has gone and taken down a Dustin Johnson. We've seen Sergio do the exact same thing. We haven't seen that from Noren as of yet. He beat some of the best, the BMW, but we haven't seen him in a really elite field with the top American players as well, chase them all down. Maybe that's stupid to look into, but it's just the way that I feel.
I don't know. I thought his play last week he was to me the best player in the field,
and he couldn't win. He should have won Torrey and couldn't win.
Ugh. Yeah. These are all good points. These are all good points.
So now
I'll just say this personally. I'm feeling it not in a good way, Pat, in the sense that it's like week in, week out. We've been so close. You know, when I have Dustin and he's a 54-hole leader, he can't close. Ricky can't close as a 54-hole leader. And then the last 2 weeks, we're having 54-hole leaders close. Before I get into my beef, I will say everyone I was around this weekend, pretty much said, I can't talk to Pat if Lucas wins. If Lucas wins, my heart will just break for Pat. And then that Lucas love mark leading, I was like, this is like Mayo's nightmare. These are Mayo's guys.
It's funny because the only action that I had on list, I had him all over DraftKings. I did a thing where I was just like, you know what?
Right?
I bet him top 10, but I had him like he was one of my core guys on DraftKings. I was just like, you know what? I bet Luke List to win all the time. His odds had dropped down to like 65 to 1. I was like, I'm not doing this to myself. It's just a waste of money. And as it turned out, it was a waste of money because he didn't win. So I feel good about that, but I should have bet him top 5 instead of top 10.
Yeah, no, I agree. And right now, like to take a golf analogy, I feel like that golfer that is even par through the front 9, but I've missed 6 putts inside 8 feet.
So
and now I don't know. On the back 9, am I even going to have a chance to make birdies?
So you're Tommy. So you're basically Tommy Fleetwood from yesterday.
Yeah, but I'm just saying we've been so close every week and come up empty that there's got to be a run of weeks where we're not close at all, and we couldn't cash on the ones we're close on. Now I'm starting to really feel it, but just got to keep trusting myself and keep giving ourselves those Sunday positions that we've had.
Look, just give yourself some Sunday runners. I didn't hit a winner last year until what is next week's tournament and was Valspar, and that week basically paid for the entire year by hitting a Euro winner, first round leader, and Adam Hadwin at 100 to 1. Like, these things come when they come, and just being around the leaderboard I think is a good thing. Right now we're basically Tony Finau when it comes to these picks. Every single week we say, hey, Tony Finau is going to be in the mix. If he could just putt a little bit, he would win, but it never happens. And eventually, one week, it will happen. So maybe that's what the same thing's going to happen for us. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, I don't know. Are we going to? You see Paul Casey next, and I was shocked he didn't play this last week.
Can I reveal? Can I reveal something to you with Paul Casey?
Sure.
I've already bet him. I got him at 33. He's 30 on 365, 33 on Bodog Bovada. I was thinking about seeing if he would end up coming in at 40, and he might. So I only made a half wager on him, and I'll get back in. Even if he drops down to like 30 or 28 or whatever.
I don't mind it. Remember, I wanted to bet him in Honda and was shocked he wasn't there. He'll give you that Sunday positioning. He might even be second place. Paul Casey's known to finish 10th in those.
Yeah, if I'm out here, I'm lipping Noren for not being able to win, considering he's won 4 times in the past 12 months. I'm like, I'm going to bet Paul Casey. That's where the smart money's at.
Yeah, that's. I didn't think about that. That's good point.
But it's already done. So what can I do?
No, I don't mind it at all. You mentioned what works in getting around here and scoring. He does all those things exceptionally well, other than finish the job. But I don't know, it's about Sunday positions. On that note, though, the guy right behind him paying a bit more, you don't think Cantlay could be worth a look?
I think Cantlay could be worth a look, and then he's one of the short list of names that I'm thinking about going with here, because I do think this course actually sets up quite well for him. But I think about it, like, what does Cantlay do really well? I think that short game will play a bit of a factor here, because not everyone's going to hit every green in regulation. I always get worried if he ends up in the sand or he has to chip out of the woods or something like that, that it's just an automatic bogey. Because the guy that I'm starting to comp him with a little bit, and you're just getting a better price on him, is Xander Schauffele at 55.
I agree with the comp, and I've seen quite a bit of buzz. I haven't seen buzz from many players from a betting perspective this morning, but I've seen a few X calls out there and that number you speak of. The thing with Cantlay, though, Pat, I thought his scrambling at Genesis was outstanding. I mean, what he did on Saturday, just keeping himself alive with all those par putts to keep himself in that position to try to win. I mean, maybe it's a week where maybe that scrambling is really coming around. And on that previous show, I picked him to win the U.S. Open. So I guess that means I believe he can win anything.
I suppose so. I'm just trying to look at what he's been at right now. He only lost 1 stroke around the greens at Genesis, and I mean, that 1 stroke could have been the difference. He did make it up by...
But wasn't Genesis also like the hardest place to get up and down?
Sure, but it's weighted against the field, so...
Fair.
Some guys gain strokes, other guys don't gain strokes. But he gained almost 4 strokes putting, which if he continues to bring a hot putter into here, he's definitely going to compete. I like the number, and this is where I get into this conundrum of how much exposure do I want to this tournament, because if you can tell me I can bet Cantlay to win at 33-1, or I haven't seen his top 10 odds yet, but I bet his top 10 odds are like 3-1, something like that, 2.5-1, I think I might just go with that instead. Because he still has to beat DJ, he has to beat Rahm, he has to beat Justin Thomas. Like, those guys at the very top of this, especially with DJ winning this last year, and Rahm playing so well, that it's kind of terrifying to see them up there.
I went to bed deeply debating how little I feel like I need to expose myself this week. Because I agree. That being said, I'll in the end have a full card and lots of money, but I worry about a lot of those guys at the top. But I worry that every week, so I don't know. I guess I shouldn't let that bring me down in any way. But I do like Cantlay. I think the 33-1 is a very fair number. I can't go as far to say strong, but I think it's a very fair number.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly fair, too. And I was the idiot who didn't take it when it was 52 weeks ago, despite the fact saying that I would smash it if it was ever 50. Because that's what I do. I backtrack on myself and then don't make the right calls. That's almost the Pat Mayo game plan from the outset. But if people do want to know what I'm going to end up betting for the week, like I said, the only two I'm committed to right now is Sergio and Casey as outright winners. Top 5s, top 10s, first round leaders, head-to-heads, all that. Go to facebook.com/thepme to check out my final betting cheat sheet come Wednesday, because that's where I'm going to have it up. So if you want to check it out, you can go check it out.
I mean, speaking of backtracking, Pat, I think when we first started doing shows, one of my most popular hot takes was the anti-Ricky take that it was egregious for him ever to be priced lower than Hideki, and that if Hideki looked like Ricky and had a Puma contract, he would have been 14-1 every week 2 years ago. And here we are in the future, and Ricky still doesn't want anything. And I've all of a sudden become like a Ricky super fan believer. I don't know what's wrong with me.
It happens. We jumped off Patrick Reed, you went on to Ricky, and it's like me with Jordan Spieth this year. I keep thinking Jordan Spieth's going to win the Masters. A lot of that is because Tim said there's no possible way he could win the Masters, which really leads me to believe that he is going to win, but just for whatever reason, I think that Spieth's going to win the Masters.
Yeah, and on that note, I should have said this at the top. I feel like such an idiot for not. I had a great time, obviously, at the tournament, but with so many fans of our show were so awesome. And not just fans, guys that do their own thing, like the Gups Corner crew and Buck and all those guys. Like, we had a blast. Like, spending time with like-minded people is so enjoyable. I got friends, but I can't talk Dylan Fratelli with them. I just can't. Doesn't work like that. I can talk Tariq Cohen with them, and we would have a great conversation. But there's no such thing as a Dylan Fratelli conversation. But met so many guys, the Gups Corner crew, such a good group of guys. And I didn't know this. I feel so bad, and I apologize to all these guys last night. But I put my DMs open. But I didn't realize that, like, if you're not following someone, at the very bottom of your DMs, there's like requests for people to talk. I just thought if my DMs were open, I would see them. And then last night I see this, and like there were like 6 people that messaged me to want to meet up, and I didn't even see the message. And I feel really bad about that, because I wanted to meet up with everybody. And anyone that like tweeted at me, I was able to meet up with, and we had a great time. And it's amazing, Pat. I don't know. I guess you hit one Danny Willett, and it gives you currency for life with some people.
I can see that. I mean, if they put enough money on it, they're still up a lot of money.
No. So a lot of that, I was like, here's a beer, man. I ate for Willett. I'm like, okay, and there are other winners. Like, we've had a lot of winners.
Don't worry about all those other picks. Just focus on that one.
Yeah, no. So I don't know. It seems like I'm still living off the lifetime currency that seems to be operating off of. So we'll take it.
Did you make a decision on Cantlay or not? Like, are you in on Cantlay?
I have. I've only made one bet so far.
Who is it? Tell me who it is.
He's in the next tier. He might even be the next name you say. and we bet him every week, or at least I have, and it's painful. It is Tony Finau.
Oh yeah, I gave Tony a hard look. There's no chance.
50.
And listen, I am very willing to lose, almost like the Luke List thing last week. If Tony wins this week and I'm not on him, then so be it. I might bet him top 5. Tony Finau rates out really well for me. He's exactly the type of player that I want to target at this event.
The POA Greens, right?
Yeah, the POA Greens. And it's not that he's a good POA putter. It's just he's not a disaster on POA Greens like he is everywhere else in terms of Bermuda, in terms of bent grass. But like the ball striking's there. He's scoring on par 5s again. We know he has the driving distance. I just don't know that if it's going to come down to it that he's going to outrun one of these top guys. Even if it's the top guys aren't there. If it's him versus like Dylan Fratelli. Fratelli probably outruns him towards the end too. So I can see myself getting in on him a lot. I mean, I like the price, this $8,500 on DraftKings. I prefer a whole lot more, but it's not going to be outright for me. I think that he finishes somewhere inside the top 10, maybe somewhere inside the top 5, but if it gets going poorly for him, he's not the best scrambler on tour. The short game has been much improved, but I just worry about Tony Finau closing it out in a field like this.
Yeah. He is the only bet I have. It really came down to the POA grass, and I felt the 50 was a strong number. I hope he can give us a chance on Sunday. But just to backtrack for a sec, I had a great dinner with the guys last night, and we spent a lot of time talking about Tim and his Jordan Spieth Masters take. And people just can't believe the guy. Like, he's like, is he for real? And I'm like, if Tim's a work, I'm being worked. Like, I'm being worked. If there's a whole work going on with Tim Shtick, it's work. Like, I'm not in on it. That's what I have to tell people. Like, I believe Tim is genuine. If he's not, I'm being gotten just like everyone else. I'm not in on the inside if something is up there.
I'll throw this out here for people since you mentioned Jordan Spieth. Over the past 24 rounds, these stats care of FantasyNational.com. Members can go search this, but I'm going to give a little bit away for everyone right now. On POA grass, over the past 24 rounds, the leaders in strokes gained putting: Jordan Spieth, Phil Mickelson, Matt Kuchar, Kevin Kisner, DJ, Rahm, Xander Schauffele, Chez Reavie, Tyrrell Hatton, Justin Thomas, Charlie Hoffman, Alexander Noren, Paul Dunn. That's only 5 rounds, though. Bubba Watson, Kyle Stanley, and Thomas Peters. The big thing with Finau for me this week, and I mentioned Xander Schauffele earlier, you're getting better odds on Xander Schauffele, who I've at least seen close out a really good field at the Tour Championship.
Fair.
So that would be my lean over Finau for an outright winner. I haven't committed to either one of them, but put the two side by side. I'll take X. You can have Finau.
Yeah, at 55-1, that's interesting. And I guess seeing something fun, well, not funny, but something that caught my eye in this range, Pat. There seems to be this thing within our Twitter golf community, started by a couple individuals, this Fitzpatrick Burger war, and they're sitting at the same number here.
Yeah, they're both the same number. They're both. And
I think it's the first time in the season they've both been in the same field. So I've seen a lot of people are excited for the first 2018 battle of these two.
Well, I mean, if it relies solely on short game and putting, I mean, the advantage is going to go to Matthew Fitzpatrick. It's just, I really do think that you need to have some distance off the tee. I know his accuracy is really good, so he's actually one of the few players in the field that's going to be able to take driver and actually keep it in the fairway, and that should be able to close the gap with even some of the bigger hitters at the elevation that are going to, drive it just as far with their 2 irons and just as straight. So I don't like Fitzpatrick this week. I also don't like Berger this week, so just call me out on both of them. How about that?
No, I don't see myself betting either. I'll tell you at the 60-1, although I might have even saw it at 70 earlier, so it's already gone down, is Fratelli sitting at the same number.
Yeah, I'm not huge on Fratelli here. Like, I prefer Woodland at 60-1 over him. I think those are good numbers. I think he's sort of the style of player that I like here.
Holy shit, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That's a great call when you consider a lot of 3 irons. Woodland played really, I'm not going to lie, I don't remember exactly how his week finished.
He had a very poor final round.
Yeah, I didn't really see him on that top 20 leaderboard that kept scrolling, at the holes, when you're hole side. But, for the first 3 rounds, he was one of the few guys that was flirting with even par, and there always seemed like there was less than 10 guys under par. anytime it is a 3-wood, a lot of 3-woods, after guys like Stenson, I always sort of try to find where Woodland's number is. And then you consider what Woodland's number was last week.
I'm with you. I think that he's underpriced in this field right now, considering.
What was he, 25 to 1 last? Was he the same price as like Fleetwood a week ago?
Yeah, he was, and now he's 4 times the odds.
I don't know what's going on.
I want to ask you about these guys though in the 50 to 1 range, because you mentioned Finau. The one narrative that I'll give Finau is that he's from Utah, so he's played golf in elevation before, so he might know how to adjust on the fly. But I think that's pure narrative. If you want to run with that, go nuts. I don't think that's going to be a real thing or not. But the other guys in that range, Peters coming off a good week is 50 to 1. Ross Fisher, the first time that we've seen him over here, he was top 5 at this event last year. He's 50 to 1. Chappell's at 66. Chez Reavie and Brian Harman, the two darlings of earlier in the season. Harman rebounded nicely last week. Can Chez rebound nicely this week? I mean, we were all over him. He hits every goddamn fairway. And this might be a better DraftKings play than anything. I know he doesn't have the length, but again, he's one of those players that can hit driver, hit all the fairways. Everyone's going to be off of him because of the perceived he hit the wall. He can't keep this going. But tee to green for ages, and I just mentioned the putting on POA. Chez is kind of nice here, and the guy goes, we're 2 weeks later from Riviera. Of course, it never really set up that well for him to begin with, and now we're getting 3 times the odds.
I've said this about Chez from the start. Well, not the start, but the last, we've seen a lot of tracks early in the year that are very different, and it didn't seem to matter. I mean, yeah, he had that hit the wall week, but if he's on, course layout doesn't seem to negatively affect him. Courses I didn't think worked for him at all, he's played fantastic at. So I got no issues with that. I'm a huge believer in what a week of rest or a couple weeks of rest can do for these guys. And back to Ross Fisher, I don't know if I can pull the trigger on an outright. It just seems so unsexy, and that's such a stupid thing to say. But Ross Fisher we are going to see his name on so many big boy party leaderboards this year, whether it be the majors, these WGCs, these premium events. I am ultra confident that he shows up, and I think he would be an outstanding DraftKings play.
Well, let me ask Kate. Let me put this out here.
Especially at all these big events, all summer long. I mean that.
Do you like Fisher or do you like Peters more this week? So I like Fisher more.
I would lean Fisher.
Okay.
I would lean Fisher, but Peters has been playing some really strong golf the last little bit.
Peters played really well last week. A lot of that was hinged on his putting, though. So don't.
And the week before, wasn't he at the top of the leaderboard for a couple days, or am I missing that?
I don't think so.
Well,
no, he was T68 at Genesis. And he had a terrible putting week. And then last week he gained over 4 strokes putting. And boom,
you're right. Yes, sorry, Genesis. So I was thinking of. Because he was T2 at Genesis.
The year before, yeah. So the other guy that's in that range that we just kind of glossed over because the last time we saw him, he broke all of our hearts, but Leishman's 55 to 1. Do you like Leishman more than you like Fisher? I do.
Probably. I think I like Woodland more than both.
Okay, well, what about Xander? Because Xander's right in there, too.
Yeah.
I think I like Xander the best of that bunch, then Leishman, then Woodland. But I think those 3 are really close. I think Fisher's closer to them, and then Peters would be last on that list. And the thing is, I don't know if I like Tony Finau more than any of those guys.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you're starting to worry me. No, I agree. This is a strong there's a lot of strong numbers here for how well these guys have played, especially in big events. Woodland always struck me as a guy that excels at harder courses, but he wins at one of the easiest courses on tour in Phoenix, right? So, I think he can play great this week. Woodland, Schauffele, Leishman is how I would order those 3.
Okay. Well, let's say I throw in Webb, because Webb is 50 for some reason. Brennan Grace, Rafa's in there, Cooch is in there, Steele, Duffner, Kisner. Patrick Reed is now 80 to 1. I remember last year we all loved Patrick Reed coming in, be like, oh, this is a short course. It's going to be wedges and putting, and Patrick Reed's great at that, plus the short game. And now no one wants to piece Patrick Reed anymore.
no one wants a piece of Patrick Reed. You just mentioned a lot of interesting names. I would even throw Kuchar in there if it's about second shots and putting and keeping it in play.
But do we? If we're going to talk about a top end field, do we really trust Kuchar to win?
No, but I just want to kind of go to the point that we spend the first start of the show talking about the guys at the top, and there's names that we like, but the great thing about these WGCs is we get some big numbers, or bigger numbers. All these middle range guys get juiced up big time and create lots of opportunities. So I get that maybe I can come off as a lot of fence sitting in the sense that you've mentioned a lot of guys. I'm inclined to like all of them. That doesn't mean I'm betting all of them, but when your memory strikes what their week in, week out odds are, and then you see this weekend you're getting really inflated numbers, understanding that the elites are here, but the elites here mean big numbers for these other guys. Grace, an interesting pick. Is the course too easy for him, right? Isn't that the MO with Grace?
Yeah, but this is... I know it doesn't match up perfectly with Heritage, but I think that from a perspective of you need to be able to hit it in the middle of the fairway. If you get in the trees, you're kind of screwed. So I think when you think of Heritage and you think of Harbour Town, that's what kind of pops into my mind, and Grace is one there.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And you know what? I'm going to backtrack on... I keep talking about how I think this is an easy course because you said it at the top. The sample size, we've got nothing in terms of sample size, and the number one player in the world won last year. Doesn't matter how easy or hard a course is. When Dustin is in mode, he wins. He can score more than anybody. So I've got to sort of keep myself in check because you said it. You can get caught just thinking that 1 year sample size is how this course plays, and that can be very silly. That you can get in trouble that way.
I got two guys from down the list that I'm not probably going to bet outright, but I'm considering the top 5, top 10 to see where the value rests. One, super sneaky Adam Hadwin, rounding into form for Valspar next week where he defends his title. The iron's been back, historically a very good POA putter. If the irons can continue to click with him, because he is one of the few players in this field, at least so far in 2018, that can hit his driver on every single hole and hit it down the middle of the fairway every single time. So he's going to be closer to some of the driving distance leaders this week as opposed to some of the other weeks because they're clubbing down. He doesn't have to. He's just going to go out there and hit his shots. Kuchar's very much the same way. He's 75. And the other one, he was T11 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he won in Oman. He was T25 here last year, finished 5th off the tee, 10th in approach, and 2nd last in putting. As long as he doesn't finish 2nd last in putting, I think that Joost Luiten, the Juice Lutener, he could end up being a pretty nice value here at 125. I looked at his top 10 odds. They were released on Bovada earlier on. He's 6.5 to 1 for top 10. I'm in on that.
You know what? There were two guys over 100 to 1. I'm skipping a bit and I'll go back, but that really caught my eye. And Youst was one of them. And the other one, I mean, I don't know. He's just the poor version of Paul Casey when it comes to winning, but he pays 100 points more. And that's Francesco.
Pass. I'm never in on Francesco, man. Ever.
Well, you don't want to be in on if you don't want to have to sweat 3.5 footers, you don't want to bet Francesco.
I look at 125. I would rather bet. I know he's out of form and not playing all that well, but I'd rather take Charles at 100. At least I know that guy can close the Masters.
Fair. Even though, yeah, I haven't seen it. Quickly to backtrack, because you spoke about Hadwin Valspar. If Cantley has another strong week, doesn't win, but kind of just keeps on doing what he's been doing this year, what are his odds at the Valspar next?
10 to 1. I kind of hope that Cantley comes tied for 4th this week, so he pushes down the price of everyone else at Valspar. Not saying that Cantley's not going to win Valspar, because he should be the betting favorite if he's in the field, although Rory's going to be there, Fleetwood's going to be there, Hatton's going to be there. So he's probably 15 to 20 to 1 next week. He'll be the 4th favorite. But we'll get some really good value on the Chez Reeves of the world. I don't know if he's playing. And Hadwins of the world. And that sort of mid-tier guy that generally does pretty well at Valspar.
Hatton, I mean, we spoke about a lot of guys in that. Peters, Woodland, Fisher, Schauffele. Does Hatton do anything for you?
Not at his price, no. Not at 45. Not what I can get guys that I consider to be equal or better players 10 to 15 points after.
Yeah.
And that's no diss on Hatton. I think that he's great, but if it means that he has to gain 7 strokes on the field putting, I just don't think that's a good method to go at when we're dealing with tee to green masters here. There is one more guy I want to talk about, though. From the very almost bottom of the list, he's at 200 to 1. I'm just really excited to see him, and I'm curious to get your take on him. I won't be betting him, I'll tell you that much. But we have our main man, Shubhankar Sharma, the 21-year-old Indian. 2 Euro wins so far. This is the first time a lot of audiences, especially American audiences who are tuning in, get to see him. Are you excited to see if he plays well?
I'm excited. I'm happy for Adnan, super Sharma fan, super fan Sharma. I'm excited to see a lot of these guys. I'm one of these people excited to see David Lipsky, to be honest. I don't know. I don't think he had the greatest week in his last event. I bet you he'll be where is Sharma? How close to the bottom is Sharma on the DraftKings board?
He is $7,000 with, that puts him in like the bottom 15. The lowest player is Adam Bland at 6,600. But like once you get below 7,000, it's like Sharma at 7, Vegas is at 69, but then you got like Gavin Green and the Burmista Mista lady.
What about Louis?
Louis broke my heart on Sunday, man. Like, he was striking the ball so poorly and making it all... It was weird because whenever he had to scramble, he made every 10-footer, but when he had these for birdie, he missed every single one of them, and then he just faltered down the stretch. Let him gear up. Louis is a weird one because it's not America, so he can definitely win this tournament. So that's not PGA Tour. That's on the table. Yeah, it's a world event, not a PGA Tour event, so he could win it. He's interesting, to say the least, because we know...
Here's the thing. I kind of caught myself, maybe it was Saturday, saying, if these books want to keep pushing Louis in that 70, 80 to 1 range, I think I want to stay on it. I haven't bet it yet, but I'll be staring at it quite hard over the next day and a half, I promise you.
We say it every single time that in terms of like the pantheon of skill sets, when we look at it, like if it's a DJ course, that means it's also a Rahm course, and to a lesser extent, that means it's also a Johnny Vegas course, and Vegas is just getting completely overlooked coming in here. Do you have any interest? Because I kind of do, because I'm a sucker. I wish his last name wasn't Vegas. If it was like Sanchez or whatever the most common name in Venezuela is, I think I'd be less apt to like go in on him every single week. But Johnny Vegas, the guy sounds like a winner.
You kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of he has peaked at DJ, DJ layouts. He's the poorest of the poor DJ in terms of this type of field. 200 to 1. Of these super longs, I'll give you this. He would be my favorite. I don't know if I'll see myself betting anyone in this range though. Kind of feels.
He ended up with a decent performance at Honda. I mean, he had a very bad final round, so that didn't help. But he lost over 3 strokes putting, and it kind of skewed. His final round just skewed everything that was going on. But for 3 rounds, he was kind of putting it all together. Poor first round, poor final round, 2 good rounds mixed in between. Did make the cut, so I think it's worth a look. The problem for DraftKings purposes is where he is really the only familiar name to a lot of people down here, that he's just going to be like 30% owned.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Like when stuck between it, you have David Lipsky and you have Johnny Vegas at the same price. 9 out of 10 people are just going to take Johnny Vegas, unless they're really hardcore Euro DFSers.
Yeah, pretty much every star lineup will have Johnny Vegas.
So I'll talk more about that on the DraftKings show tomorrow, whether that means just pure fatum right out of the gate, but I'm still torn on it when it comes to a betting perspective, because 200 to 1 is a juicy number. That means that the top 5 is going to be around 50 if you each way it, but if you just bet the regular top 5, it's going to be like 40, maybe 45 to 1, which puts the top 10 around like 18, 20 to 1. There's only 65 guys in this field. Maybe a first round leader top 10 bet on Johnny Vegas could be the way to go with it.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue that. I don't know. I've seen him play many rounds with DJ and hold his own and their buddies. They walk and talk the whole way. On that note, backtracking, 3.0, Pat. He's a special guy. This 3.0 Tiger is a special guy. He was arm in arm with Mr. Burns all day yesterday. All day. There's the video I have of them coming up 17. You see them literally side by side, chatting them up. We know 1.0 would have literally stared this kid down on the first tee with lasers from his eyes into the kid's soul, and he wouldn't have said a word to him all day. 3.0 yucked it up with the kid all day. Credit for what? The kid played even par too. Who would have seen that, with the Tiger and the galleries, all that. 3.0 is a special, special person, and I'm so excited. We spoke about the proximity to pin and the driving distance, but this other side of 3.0 is special. And you can tell when you're going to be a Ryder Cup vice. I know this has nothing to do with Sam Burns, not in any Ryder Cup discussion, but if you're going to be a Ryder Cup vice, if you're paired with Gary Woodland, you got to get to know Gary Woodland. You know what I mean? Like we're going to see it all year, and it melts me inside, warm and fuzzies.
Last guy, there's one guy I want to talk about before we go to the picks, though. You ready for this? 110 to 1. We've seen him before pop up in competitive fields. He has a win already this season. People are betting him to win the Masters, and he's played well at tournaments where Sergio, Dustin, Tommy Fleetwood have all played well at the past. Players that rate out really well at this course. I will probably end up taking a shot on Haotong.
I will probably join you there.
Okay,
I probably will. Not that I just agree with everything you said there as it relates to him. It's one of those funny situations where this line feels 30, 40 points bigger than his Masters line.
Yeah, in a field that's...
And the field is just as strong. It's the same super elites.
Yeah, it's true. And there's there is no Fred Couples at this one, or Mike Weir.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got to, stare down the same names minus the 3 or 4 that aren't here. It would take that same special 4 days. I'd be more inclined for all the hype of people with him at the Masters. I would start that train this week. I got no love for him at the Masters, but I've got some love as it pertains to this coming weekend.
All right, let's get to our picks then. Picks for the week, the quick picks. Like I mentioned, I'm only actually committed to 2 so far, so I'll give those out to you right now. Sergio Garcia, 28 to 1. Paul Casey, 33 to 1. You can find that number up on Bodog or Bovada on 365. It's 30 right now. It's only a half wager for the moment because I want it to drop a little bit. If I get caught with my hand in the cookie jar and it doesn't drop to 35 or 40 and it goes up to 30 or 28, and so be it. I'll still be in either way. Like I mentioned, I'm a moron for betting Paul Casey, but that's where I'm at. I'm giving a long look to Xander Schauffele. I'm giving a long look to Haotong in terms of their odds. I am going to be in on Haotong. I'll say that right now. I'm just going to see if I can find it it's 110 on 365 right now. I'm going to see if I can find a better number. If not, I'll be in at the 110. Who do you like?
Okay. I have already bet Tony Finau. It's the only bet that's currently pending. I do think I plan on betting Patrick Cantlay at the 33. I do plan on making a move at the top. Haven't fully decided. For me, it's kind of between, Rahm would be the player I'm the most confident in. Rahm or Ricky could get played by me, and in that deeper middle range that we spoke of, I think you got to bet Gary Woodland. I think you got at 60 to 1. The guy was right there with Noren and Fleetwood in odds a week ago, and now he's doubling them up for no reason, in my opinion, on a layout that definitely suits him off the tee. But I also do plan on finding some other guys in this range. X at 55 might be that next very attractive name for me.
like I mentioned, I'll have all my full plays up on Facebook.com/thepme at the end of the week. Some top 5s, some top 10s. I think that's the market I'm going to be more in. But while you were talking, I went and bet Haotong at 110. I looked at him on Bovada. He was 100. Got him at 110. And with the each way to the top 5, so it pays 1/4 of that. So I'm going to like that a lot. I believe that's, what, 27 to 1, 26.5 to 1, 27.5 to 1, whatever it is. If he comes inside the top 5, Mr. Haotong, I'll be a very happy camper. So that will do it for the quick pick section. Let's get to one and dones. You actually beat me last week, although we both had good weeks. You had Noren, I had Fleetwood, but you just squeaked out a little win on me. Who are you taking this week?
I think, well, I'm really tempted to play Rahm. I feel like he will just play so much over the summer, and there will be an event that he's like 6.5, 7 to 1 to win. So I'm going to hold off there. I will probably regret it. And I'm just going to flip-flop a week ago, Pat. You had Fleetwood. I had Noren. I'm going to go to Fleetwood this week.
Okay, and it was the first name that I bet when it came out, so I'm going to ride that train. Hopefully it works out. I'm going to take Serge and see if he can get himself into the winner's circle, at least come up with the top 5. If you're playing in the Big Gups Corner one and done, this is the last week. Paul, it's the last week, right, of this segment? So
I'm begging for the segment to end.
Yeah,
I need the
but if you're within contention for this segment, you need to go. You need to go look at who has been used so far, because it has like the total numbers of the players that have been used. And if you actually do, if you're within $1 million of the lead, I know everyone gets paid this week, so first prize is just over $1 million. But if you can find the guy that wins that no one else has, that's the only way that you're going to win that segment. I would give some looks to like Jordan Spieth, who I don't think anyone's going to use. I'm not using him because I'm not in contention to win this segment, but that's the sort of out-of-the-box thinking that you're going to have to do this week. You're going to have to go super contrarian in order to win this segment. If you're not in the running, don't worry about that kind of thing and just play it as it would go.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great bit of information that didn't even dawn on me, and something I certainly don't need to worry about. I mentioned off the top how, even though he's custed, I thought Ricky was probably the forgotten elite, but you're probably really right. With the sort of Jordan trying to find himself, even though it is a WGC, people sort of have their sights set on those certain places that they'll want to use him. He is actually... Ricky's a forgotten elite, but I'll say Jordan is the forgotten super elite this week. That's for sure. Because, look at me. I like him and Rahm are the same numbers. I'm even thinking about Jordan. Rahm would be my pick there, period.
Yeah, and I would pick Rahm over Spieth this week, too. There is one name that we didn't talk about completely. We just glossed over him, and he's 35 to 1 to win this tournament. And he's coming off a win. And he hits the ball a mile and can shot.
My eyes went right through it.
You want no part of Bubba?
I don't. There's other people I would rather bet.
Okay, me too. I'm 100% on board with you with that, but I'm not
going to argue the case. You're absolutely right. But what his ability to drive it and everything that's working, he could have just as good. His skill set sets up for him to do anything that Rahm or DJ are going to do this week, and he's in form. Yep. So I can't argue with it one bit. There's nothing I could say against it other than I'm not there. And look at Bubba's history of wins. Do we know? Is this a Bubba track? I say that as a joke because it's not, but he only wins at the same places.
Yeah, he played okay. He actually had a decent result at this course last year, despite the fact that he's playing like absolute trash.
That's actually worth noting. That means more to me than some, but I just still not for me. I'm not going to go there.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Jeff, we'll go back to you, and you can follow Jeff on Twitter again at GFienberg17. Your final closing thoughts from Florida.
I just want to say thanks to everyone for the great time this weekend, especially Alan, who hooked me up with a ticket yesterday, and we got into that military tent on 17. Someone asking me what unit I served in, I was just a guest. But props to Alan for taking me yesterday into the military tent, had a great time. $2 beers. They treat the troops right. Had a blast meeting everyone, hanging out with these guys. It's so weird to kind of feel like you're friends with people you've never met, but I guess that's what the internet, has created. And it seems like having not met people, you don't know what they're like. I feel like they might know me better than I know them, because I like to think I'm pretty authentic on our podcast, and what you see on the podcast is probably what you get from me in person, although they can vouch for it. It's so great meeting people, and it throws me off to think that I have fans, because I just think I'm nothing special. But it's weird, and it's a bit humbling, but I had a great time hanging out with everybody. It was awesome.
All right, that's cool to see, though. Like, every time that everyone keeps going to these tournaments, there's always big meetups. I think it speaks well of the Twitter PGA community.
Yeah, the Twitter PGA community. And again, I guess in closing, I personally believe I am everything that is right with golf fans in 2018. A passionate person who respects the game, knows the rules, knows when to make noise, knows when not to make noise. I feel like I am everything that's right. I'm passionate about the other sports, and I'm passionate about golf. Golf is man versus man. Golf is man versus nature. Golf is man versus himself. Golf shouldn't be man versus gallery. I agree with that.
All right.
But I'm not that person. I'm not that person. I'm everything that's right with golf in 2018. I believe that to the bottom of my heart.
All right, that'll do it. You cut me off when you're the fucking 4,000 miles away.
I'm trying to get in your shot. Can't get in your shot from 4,000 miles away.
Thanks for being on the line, dude. Safe travels home.
All right, love you guys. Have a great week.
All right, I want to thank Geoff for being on the line. I want to give a special shout out again to Nickel, who took down the $4 GPP, 25 grand to him, and Kent, who took down $5K in the $12 single entry Albatross contest. It's a big win, and enjoy it. Go spend the cash, go put it away, whatever it is. You guys earned it, and congratulations once again. Give the episode a like, sub to the pod wherever you can download pods. Leave a review, too. It only takes like 10 seconds. Would help out a lot. Like the show on YouTube and the DK Live app. All this stuff goes a long way to help spreading the word of the show, and we just heard from the best golf fan in the history of the world. He told you so, so you might want to spread the word about him, too. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the PME. All my work is up on DKPlaybook.com, including a full course breakdown, which is there right now. Back tomorrow with the DraftKings breakdown. Completely different way to talk about this tournament, especially with no cuts, so stay tuned for that. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.